And there we are. We are live. Hello, my friends. This is Saturday service and Rabbi Brian's Saturday Spiritualistic gathering. I meant to write spiritualigious, but I crapped out and wrote spiritualist, which is not a word that I wanted to use, so I'm going with spiritualisty. It's Rabbi Brian's Saturday Spiritualisty gathering. I got no problem making up words. They're all made up, aren't they? Mm-hmm. I'm joined by a group of people of whom it was said, I got a note from someone who said, it's lovely to see this many people age 60 and up. I don't mean to insult those of you who are younger than 60, but it's lovely to see this many people 60 years old-ish who are laughing together. And that was somebody's impression of the service. They thought it's a lovely service because there's so much laughter. And it reminds me of a quote by, there was not absolution. What's it called when you don't want to have alcohol?
Abstention.
No, thank you.
Abstention.
Abstinence.
No.
Abstinence.
No, not abstinence.
That's it.
Teetotaling.
Okay. There was a teetotaler. I can't. There was a teetotaler by the name of Billy Sunday. He was a wandering preacher. And he said, if you can't find laughter, there's something wrong with your religion.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Amen.
And so here we are. Oh, no. Here we are with a little bit of laughter. And I'm glad that you guys are all here. And people on Facebook, thank you. You are here. We can see what you write in the chat. I can't interact exactly with chat, but some people are going to be monitoring the chat. And should there be something in the chat that you want to bring in, please bring that in. I have a few follow-ups from last week. If you weren't here last week, that's okay. Few follow-ups from last week. One, when I taught high school math, it happened once that I had a day I couldn't be in the class and I had a substitute, and I got a note from the substitute teacher that my class was rude and were all the not good things that no teacher wants to hear their classes. And I said to my classroom when I came back, I said, you will never do that again. I said, you will never do that again. That is horribly disrespectful to me. If I bring somebody in as a guest and you are rude to them, that is just, it's just wrong. I said, be as rude as you want to me, but don't be rude to a substitute. Also, I was a substitute teacher for a while. It's an awful job to have. Why am I bringing this up? Hey, folks, there are people who are highlighted as co-hosts of this meeting, and there are people who run the breakout groups after the service. Be kind to them. It's a volunteer job. I mean, for that sake, mine's a volunteer job too, but I signed up for this. Don't be rude to the co-hosts or to the obviously something happened, and so I'm speaking without naming names or pointing out exactly what happened. Just a little. Okay, glad we talked about that. Let's drop that. We don't have to talk about that again. I have a. How many of you have ever had that thought? Oh, well, I know the answer, and the answer is going to be all of you, but let me just ask anyway. You've had that thought where you knew somebody was going to do something that was going to be annoying, and then they did it? Show of hands. How many of you have been in that situation? That's everybody. Some people are putting up 2 hands. That's very clever. I have a theory, and I'm going to drop it here, and we'll see if it works. If you're so smart that you knew that person was going to do that annoying thing, Why are you annoyed by it? If you're so smart, you knew that they were going to leave the table without clearing their dishes. Why aren't you smart enough to not be upset? All right, that's the end of that thought. Next thought. Oh, here, that one we did. Articles take effort. I have no idea what that one means. That's fine. Grief and love. I heard, and I'd love your feedback and some thinking on this. I heard that grief and love, and this is a weird phrase, but are opposite sides of the same coin. That unless you deal with your grief, you can't fully have love. That love is contingent on you being able to deal with grief and sit through grief. And if you haven't sat through grief, let me say it a little bit from the other end. The more you sit with grief, the better able you are to sit with love. I'm going to leave that sit for a moment. While I'm on the topic of grief, just a little note. I'm married to a grief and loss therapist, so this is stuff I overhear her saying. Grief is all connected. When your dog dies, you're brought back to the last time you felt grief. Anytime we feel grief, it's connected to all the other times we felt grief. And that grief is not... Oh, and also let me add, grief is not just about death. There are plenty of other things to grieve without death. Right? Losing your hearing, losing your ability to remember as well as you did, lose any loss, there can be grief for. And I gotta tell you, if I get my choice about like, hey, which one do you want today, grief or happiness and joy? I'm pretty sure every time I'm going to pick happiness and joy.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Meg.
I read something about grief the other day that I found interesting. I haven't decided yet if I've found it helpful. But that was that particularly when you lose a loved one or one that has Alzheimer's, that kind of thing, you have to grieve the way you interacted. And you have to learn to not interact in that way.
Wait. I don't understand. So you have to grieve in the way you interacted.
You have to grieve the interactions you had.
You grieve the interactions you had. Okay. Keep going.
No. I said that wrong. You have to grieve the individual ways you interacted. If Rich said to me, this is a good book to read, I would say, okay, I'll read that. Now I have to unlearn saying that or even recognizing that.
That seems like there's a lot to grieve then, Meg.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there can be. But it's the unlearning of the way you interacted that I find very interesting.
That you have to grieve how you interacted, that you not have that anymore. I am not getting it.
No. You have to unlearn how you interacted. Then you can interact in a different way.
You have to unlearn how you interacted. We're talking especially with memory loss here.
Yeah.
But it would also happen with death, right? If my loved one dies, I have to unlearn how I interacted with them because they're not here anymore.
Right.
And unlearning is hard. Go ahead, Emily, and then Dan.
When Wayne was clearly his memory was really gone, I had to grieve the funny things. I mean, he always made me laugh.
Yeah. You have to unlearn You have to grieve that loss too. Emily, before I go to Dan and then Ray and then Diana, is grief necessary to fully love? Do you really? So that was my premise, was that we have to deal with grief in order for us to love. That if we don't grieve, we can't really love. I got some no's on that. I don't know the answer to that. Let's see what Dan has to say. I don't know
I
either.
would just say something kind of obvious about the connection, which is that the things you grieve are the things you love, right?
We grieve the things we loved because those are the things
Right.
we lost.
And that old saying about better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. That's certainly a lot of truth there.
Yeah, I have found, Jack. I'll get you after I got a row of people. I have found that people also grieve things that they didn't love. Like at a funeral, you'll hear, "Oh my God, I'm going to miss the way he was the worst driver ever." Right? It's not something that we necessarily loved, but we loved the person. Go ahead, Ray, and then Diana, then Aviva,
Well,
and then Jack.
yeah, I think having to grieve so you don't. There's the other side of that. When you love so much that you don't know how much you loved until you have lost that love.
Yes.
You grieve every little thing about it.
Yeah.
To coming home from church and saying, "Honey, I'm home,"
Right.
and there's no response. Rolling
Right.
over at night to put your arms around someone, and she or he is not there. And so I sort of think that maybe that's what Meg is saying. And yeah, and you have to, and you're right. She's right. You have to be able to learn not to grieve all those little things, I think.
I'm going to
Even
add it.
parts.
Get ahead of it.
Thank you, Ray. I'll add in a quote that Jane says, "Grief is love with nowhere to go."
Yeah.
I see a bunch of heads nodding on that one. Go ahead, Diana, and then Aviva, and then Jack.
To Meg's point, I don't think it's limited to just memory loss.
Mm-hmm.
When your loved one is very ill in any form, particularly if you're a caregiver, you don't have a partner in the same way you did. You have a patient in
Yeah.
a way that you rarely know how to handle. So
Right.
you're both unlearning and learning at the same time.
It's awful.
And yeah, and as far as grief and love, I don't even separate. I mean, we're going to lose everything we love, period.
We are going to lose everything we love.
Yeah, so we might as well get on the grief train because, we're not exempt.
And Diana, would you say that if we don't grieve, we can't love? Or if we...
Yeah, I would.
You would say that.
Not fully. It's not being black or white, but
We got overlap in the Venn diagram between grief and love.
that's my experience.
Nice. Thank you, Diana. Aviva.
I love what Diana just said. And just thinking of, Rabbi, I think it was a couple of weeks ago that you said something about this job description in life. It's like we're not coming into life with the job description that things are going to be comfortable.
Right.
There's one inevitable thing on our job description, and that's that this thing ends, right?
Right.
So I'm just thinking of like how in order to really love, like in that initial meeting someone, even
Yeah.
if I think of like children that I love, in my work and in the community, like you're making yourself vulnerable to the grief that's going to be inevitable.
Right. And Aviva, I think we all know people who shut off from loving because they don't want to. They know that one of the costs. I have my in my grandmother's handwriting in my rabbi's manual, I have a little piece of paper. It says one of the prices of joy is sadness, is tears. I can't remember the right word, but that's one of the prices of joy is sadness. We purchase it. It's along for the ride. It's the flip side. Go ahead, Jack.
I think love, to me, love is the whole coin.
Love is the whole
Yeah,
coin.
the
Okay.
whole coin, because you can also hate, but you can love to hate. So it doesn't
Okay.
make any sense to me that to separate love from anything. But
So-
what reminded me about the grief, the first time I realized I had grief, I guess if I realized it or not, I don't know. But I was about 6 years old, and it was when a cousin of mine, a second cousin, I guess, who was a Redemptorist priest going on missionary between Ireland and Australia, and he stayed at our house for a month or two. And when he left, I cried for
Of
3
course.
days. Yeah, that was my introduction to grief without knowing I was grieving. I was crying,
Right.
and that's what I wanted to bring up that. So it's I've been involved in grief that lasted almost 2 years
Yeah.
without a change. But I still was loving because I was taking care of
Right.
3
We can
kids at
do.
the same time.
We can do both. We can love and grieve at the same time.
Right, exactly.
I just prefer not to be sad. Right? I mean, that's just like that's just a default setting. Give me the choice. I'm going to
Yeah.
choose, hey, I'll take the one, you know, that side, that grief on the side. I don't want that part.
Granted,
So
I'm not.
Tell you a story. Go ahead. Sorry, Jack.
No, it's all right. It's just that that grief is so deep for me that I doubt if I could ever grieve any deeper.
Right.
The loss of my family.
I have two things, and one I hope to remember. I remember listening to an NPR interview with a police officer who lived in a small town and said that the hardest thing, she was a chaplain, I apologize, not an officer, a chaplain in the police department, whose job it was to tell people, hey, knock, 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 your loved one's dead. And she said that once she learned that she could sit through anyone's crying and screaming and wailing, that nobody cried and wailed and was in intense grief for more than 20 minutes. That it always broke. And they go back into it, but there was always a space. And once I heard that, I was like, I can do 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I can sit with
Exhausting.
someone. It's exhausting. But hey, look, I also practice sitting and trying not to do much for 20 minutes, which I stream to Facebook because I think it's mischievous and kind of fun to post zero content. Okay, wait, and then I got my second one. I do remember it. Good for me. I have a mentor. I had a mentor named Dino Zanini. He was a beautiful Jungian analyst. And I studied group relations and group dynamics with him, and I would go to his house once a month, and we would talk. And he was foundational in my thinking and how I saw groups. And he tells me, and I can hear his accent in my head, and I can't say it the way he said it, but he said, "Brian, I have leukemia. I'm dying." And I started to cry.
Wow.
And he said, "The tears you are shedding right now are about you, not about me."
Yep.
Greg had his hand up.
Go ahead, Greg. Thank you.
I was just going to comment on the fact that when I was diagnosed with congested heart failure, that my whole world kind of turned around. Everything that I enjoyed doing outside, working and things like that, landscaping, it all went down the tubes. I still tried to putz around a little bit, but that was really hard. And until I did what you said, read about the fact that I was able to finally accept that and go on from there.
Yeah. The only way out, I got you, Larisse. The only way out is through. I was having a hard time yesterday, and I called a friend, and the friend reminded me of the article that I had just sent out the week before, and my friend said the only way out is through. And I cursed at my friend for quoting me back to me, because there's nothing I think is ruder. Diana, do you have your hand up? You're in the hand up position. No, okay. Larisse, go ahead.
I don't think grieving is put in a box, because you can grieve, like I mentioned before, when you can't do the same things anymore. You're going into the energy is going somewhere else that you can't use. Like for me, I keep bringing up my eyes, but
Yeah.
it's what it is. I mean, every time my eyes get worse or I can't do the same things I used to, I grieve the old because it doesn't work anymore.
Right.
And the grieving, every time that I have a change, I grieve the old. And then, for instance, I have to bring this up. A week ago, I was hit by a car.
Oh,
Oliver and I were... What?
I said, oh, geez. Go ahead.
Yeah, Oliver and I were stepping off of... step off. We had the right-of-way. And the woman was in the wrong, and I landed on my butt. But it happened so quickly. One instant I was up, the next instant I was down. Oliver's fine, and I didn't break anything, but as I'm going through my process of healing, something in me is grieving something's different.
Mm-hmm.
I know that I appreciate life. I always appreciated life, but I'm appreciating life in a different level, because you can, 1 second you can be alive, next second you can be dead, a split second.
Right.
So I don't try to put anything now, more and more, because I'm deepening my practice more and more this last year. And I noticed that, it's inside really deeply now, much deeper on different levels. And I'm grieving the old.
Yeah.
That's not useful anymore. So I'm just so I'm healing with a chiropractor and an acupuncture.
Right. And there's grief to be done.
Absolutely. Got to go through the grief. Right.
I have cousins who have adopted everything's for the best sunshine.
Roses.
Yeah.
Pangloss.
Yeah, a little Pangloss, a little Pollyanna. And I'm like, you can't divorce the pain from the joy.
Right.
It's the game we got.
Right. That's how you heal. Yeah.
Amen. Is there anyone whose voices, if you have more than one voice as an individual, is there anyone's voice we haven't heard from who wants to weigh in on grief? I'm sure it will come back about grief and love, but we'll move on if there's not others.
I'd like to chime in.
Okay, I don't know who that is, but chime away.
Oh. Elsie.
Oh, hi, Elsie. So here's a little deal, Elsie. A lot of people's voice, I can't see everybody on the screen always so easily. And some people have been here before, so I catch what their voice sounds like. So, Elsie, thank you so much for voicing in. What do you got?
I think that grief is absolutely part of love. It's the flip side of love.
Yeah.
And we always carry people in our hearts.
Amen.
There were times in my life that I did not have the capacity to grieve a situation at the time, so I had to carry it until I was ready.
Yeah.
To let it go.
I gotcha. Connie, hold on one second. There's a definition I heard once. Elsie, thank you for sharing in. A definition I heard of trauma, that trauma is disruption without repair.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That there's
Yeah.
trauma, there are things where there's a disruption, but then immediately there's repair, there's care, there's help. But trauma is when there's a disruption and there is no repair. And
That's me. That would happen to me then. You hit that right on the note. Yeah.
Okay.
With the accident. Yeah.
Thank you, Larice, for saying. Oh boy, Connie. My co-host friends, can you hold on? So there are a bunch of people who are here as co-hosts, and if you have questions, you should be able to ask them. And their job is to mute people. If all of a sudden you're muted and you don't know why you're muted, please don't quickly just unmute yourself. There's probably a reason we muted you. Let me get back to Connie.
Hey, I've been noticing all of us are very old, or older, but I remember as a child of about 7 or 8 years old, that our family would come and visit, and when the family left, I would go downstairs in the basement and cry.
Right.
Because I would. So it isn't just related to this age group, because I think children have a way of
Absolutely.
having sadness and all. So it's what we're born with.
Right.
I think it's innate in us to be sad. It's innate in us to be happy. But it's just part of life. And we just have to learn to live with it.
Right. I love the example Jack gave and that you just gave, Connie, and I could give. When my sister went off to sleepaway camp for the first time, I threw up. I couldn't handle how traumatic that loss was. Of course, she was only gone for a few weeks, but it was loss. It was real loss. And the better we are at grieving, I think the less shit we carry with us, the less shit sticks to us, the better we're able to get through the grief cleanly. And if we're not permitted to grieve, I mean, Connie, not to but you said, I could imagine other people's situation. We might have run into a father's arms and cried and said, "I'm so upset, I'm so sad." But
that wasn't kind of in my family issues, but I would just go downstairs and cry.
Right.
Be lonely.
I hear that, and it breaks my heart. Right. You're not alone, Connie. And thank you for sharing it in. Yeah. Anything else we're good for now? We're going to move on to another topic. Okay. There was a quote last week, and we also had it 2 weeks ago, but it's such a good quote, it deserves to be requoted. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. It gave me a warning about my microphone. There was an Oliver Wendell Holmes quote that we had, and I'm wondering, it was such a strong, powerful quote that I want us to remember it. So I'm going to circle back to it. And if you don't remember it, that's all right. It just means you don't remember it. Doesn't mean you're not a good person. This was the quote. "Greatness is not in where we stand, but in what direction we are moving."
I like that.
We don't have to have done it all. We just need to be moving in the right direction. I'm going to say that again. We don't need to do it all right. We don't have to score 100. We just have to be facing the right direction and moving in the right direction. Okay. I got a new definition of love. New definition of love. I should say it differently. I found a definition of love that's new to me. And it's from M. Scott Peck, the author, who said, love is the will to extend oneself for the purpose of nurturing one's own or another's spiritual growth. It's a thick quote. It's one long sentence, so let's look at that again. Love is the will to extend oneself, to give of oneself, to make oneself larger. Love is the will to extend oneself for the purpose of nurturing one's own or another's spiritual growth. There is a 16-year-old who lives in this house who I love, and I know that because I keep extending myself for the purpose of nurturing her growth. And there are times I don't want to do that. Love is the will to extend oneself for the purpose of nurturing one's own or another's spiritual growth. I love that it adds in one's own. That it's not just love is to extend oneself for the purpose of nurturing another's spiritual growth, but it's love is the will to extend oneself for the purpose of nurturing one's own spiritual growth or another's spiritual growth.
I like that definition a lot.
Yeah. Thank you, Meg.
You don't have love until you start giving it away.
Yeah, there's a kid's little ditty that goes like that, right? I can't remember how it goes though. Betsy, do you got that one?
Magic penny.
Magic
it's just
penny.
like the magic penny. Hold it close and you don't have any. Lend it and spend it and you have so many. They roll all over the floor.
Love isn't love till you give it away. Thank you. Love is the Episcopal Bishop of New Jersey, Spong. John Shelby Spong. John Shelby Spong was asked once, how are we supposed to love? And he had a one-word answer. Wastefully.
Wastefully.
How are we to love wastefully? So it was tucked into the service last week about how do we love our enemies. And it's a great question, and I have an answer, and it was buried in last week's service. How we love our enemies is we start with loving the least offensive of our enemies. We can start first you have to decide that you want to love your enemies. And you don't want to just give lip service to, I tried to love my enemies, it didn't work, they're fucking assholes. How if you really want to love your enemies, if you really want to love the people who annoy you, you have to come on up to the high stakes table and buy in. You have to want to do it. And then how do we do it? My suggestion, start with the person who annoys you. Start with a 16-year-old who you happen to know. Start with the person on the screen who, when they talk, it just grates your nerves. If you can learn to love that person, right? If you can't love the person, I saw this about, there was a meme that said, sure, you can solve the crisis in the Mideast and you can't figure out how to get along with your roommates. Start with the person who irks you and learn to love the person who irks you. And then move up to the person who annoys you. And then maybe move up to the person who antagonizes you. And then finally you can get up to mean, boss level is learn to love your enemy. That's not easy. But you don't start at boss level. Well, you can start at boss level. You're not going to win if you start at boss level. Got one more quote about love. Fits in. I don't remember where I got this quote. Love for another is self-recognition. Let's sit with that for a moment. Love for another is self-recognition.
Yes, I believe in that. Yes.
Okay. I have one convert doing well. All right. Go ahead, Maria.
I don't understand that.
Yeah, me neither.
Neither do I.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Mary has her hand up.
Yeah, Mary.
Boy, I've lost my train of thought. I'm embarrassed.
Oh, Mary, the bus of thought is coming around right afterwards.
Just wait 15 minutes, it'll come back.
Right? That's a fun thing about getting older, is waiting for that damn thing to come back and hoping you remember why you wanted to remember the thing when it does come back.
Exactly. Exactly. I'm sure that I have kindred spirits as far as that goes. But
love for another is
I'll
self-recognition.
pass for now.
Okay.
Anyone?
Go ahead, Larice.
How can you love somebody else if you don't love yourself?
Amen.
That's what that means. So, yeah. So if you don't love yourself and you hate yourself or you despise yourself or blah, how are you going to love somebody else?
Good question. Anyone else?
Disagree with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
because
Maria.
I think growing up with examples of loving others, but not self-care or self-love. Like I learned how to love others and how to show others love.
Right.
But I didn't have the modeling of loving myself. And I do believe that I can love, even if I don't love myself.
How are you doing on that loving yourself? Are we at an all-time best?
No, we're not at an all-time low. But
okay, not at an all-time low. It's a
That's
skill.
progress. Yeah.
It's hard to love. Show of hands. How many of you have had a hard time loving yourself? Look, cardio activity. We're all...
Takes work.
It's hard to love ourselves. A lot of us got trained to do... We got trained and acculturated. I got trained and acculturated to be loving to other people. That was the game. How much love can I give other people? Can I give other people? And at the end, I could eat some of the meat off the bones of the chicken if there was any love left over. But loving myself, that I'm still working on that one too. I'm much better at it than I've ever been. I am at an all-time high. Hey, aggregate over time. There are some moments, there's some snapshots where I am not really loving myself too well. But I'm averaging. I'm Oliver Wendell Holmesing it. I might not. My love might not be. I knew what I meant there. I'm in the direction of moving towards self-love. I'm in the direction towards loving, being more loving as I go. I got a bevy of hands that are up. Ann Mayer, help us.
Muted, Ann.
What? I didn't have my hand up.
Oh, you know what happened when I asked everyone to raise their hands? It raised their electronic hands. Sorry about that, Ann. Yeah. Okay. Let's try. Mary, did you mean to put your hand up?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, and then we're going to get to Ruth after, and then Diana and Elsie if they actually put their hands up. Go ahead, Mary.
I thought it is easier for me, this is just probably a semantic thing, but it is easier for me to think about sending love out to my enemies than actually loving them. You know, it's like I can feel this warmth coming out from my heart and, you know, directing it to my enemies. But you know, if I think about them one-on-one, like if I think about, you know, the ICE agent that killed those people, it's very hard to say I love that person. Right?
Well, I think I can use the Oliver Wendell Holmes quote here, is we're facing the right direction, we're moving in the right direction. Diana, then Ruth.
Harking back to Maria's comment, which personally I agree with, about self-love not being a necessary prereq for loving others. You know, we've talked about shame being sticky.
Shame is sticky, yeah.
Shame is the glue of self-hate.
Say that again. Shame is the glue of self-hate?
Yeah.
Shame is the glue of self-hate. Ugh.
Yeah, icky. You got it. And I don't think experiencing shame and having some lack of love for yourself expunges my ability to love. I've always found it easier to love others than to love
yourself.
Mm.
Yeah.
Without screwing up by putting people's hands up, so kind of just like nod your head this time. Do you have that same thing? It's easier to love somebody else than to love myself. Is that a thing?
Well, especially when you're taught your whole life that you can't do that.
You can't. Yeah. We a lot of us are shamed for loving ourselves.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
So greedy.
Oh, now I got. Well, we know what my topic for therapy on Wednesday is going to be. That's great. Ruth, and then Elsie.
I have a friend who recently fell, broke her shoulder, landed up in rehab, and had to give up her apartment of 50 years and move into a senior residence. And this woman, I've been thinking of what you've been saying about where you're moving, because this woman was more or less a recluse and suddenly finds herself moving in a totally different direction. And I've been watching this with admiration, because it's been such a shock. Her whole system, physical, and she's moving forward. She's not stuck.
Good.
And it's just, I'm loving every piece of it, and I'm loving her for it.
Ruth, have you told her?
That's great.
Oh, yes.
You've told her.
On a daily basis, Rabbi. I
And
send her little love notes.
Does she believe you?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, good. Because I find sometimes I love on other people, and they are really good at.
Yeah, and we have a mutual friend that is doing the same. So all three of us are sort of a cheering squad.
Triumvirate. Wonderful. Elsie, thank you, Ruth.
Yeah, I take to task the idea that it's easier to love people who are annoying than people who are more of our enemies.
Uh-huh.
And I think it's the way that I approach loving people, is that I try to love all the parts of myself that have ever been bad. And so when I think about my enemies, I try to never point my finger at them. It's like that old saying,
you point your finger at one person.
Pointing your fingers back at yourself. And so I try to love deeply whatever those qualities are that I feel have harmed me, because I know where those come from. They come from ignorance in others. But with annoying people, I never annoy myself. So I have no
Good for you.
loving that. There's not like qualities day to day that annoy me. So the people who annoy me, I have no idea how to approach them. Like the irritation is very hard for me to overcome. It's way easier to overcome evil for me for some reason.
I love that. I love your self-knowledge. And also I love that you're speaking in the first person singular about your own experience, not we should or we ought. And let me also say, there are some people who are new around these screens. We know who you are because we haven't seen you for many months. We haven't seen your face in the little Zoom box. If you're wondering how you become an official participator, how you just say, "Hey, I want in," and you put your hand up and you start talking, and then that's our official membership policy: is if you want to be a member, you are a member, and we're glad that you're here. I knew I made that announcement. Oh, I know. Folks, I need to do a mea culpa, a giant I am sorry. If you had a hard time last week, I'm going to take the blame for that. Stick with me. If you had a hard time last week and you were here at our service the week prior or last week, if you were either at last week's service or the service before that, and you had a hard week last week, that is my fault. And that's my fault because I forgot to make this one announcement that I make every week that I forgot to make last week. And because I forgot to make it, you might have had a shit week. Here's the announcement.
Not to be okay.
It's okay not to be okay.
If you're new around here and you're like, why are they all reading this out if they know it? The reason they're reading it out is because sometimes you have to hear your own voice say this. So I'd like if you need to say this because you need to know it's okay not to be okay, this one's for you. And again, mea culpa. I'm sorry about last week. That's totally on me.
What is mea culpa?
Mea culpa is the Latin for please, I am guilty.
Oh.
Like the word culpable comes from that. And mea is
me.
I am. Mine.
Anyone
else forced to take Latin in school? Boy, that was useful, wasn't it?
Love taking Latin.
It was.
I just said it was useful. I can speak to some statues, and they don't. So useful.
Well, the thing is,
you're being sarcastic.
I am being sarcastic. Oh my God! So I used to have students in my classroom, and they would say, "We can't tell when you're being sarcastic," and my response was, "You can tell when I'm being sarcastic because my lips are moving." Took them a little while sometimes. Another announcement I wrote on this ruler because I think it's a good rule to go by. Well, a piece of ruler.
You can't read the ruler.
Were you here last week? The week before? I make this announcement all the time. It says, love them anyway.
Can't read it.
There it is. Okay. Thank you for complaining. It's useful. Love them anyway. Doesn't matter what it is. Love them anyway. Love people anyway. Love yourself anyway. I got the cure for what ails us, and it's love. That's it. Jack, your hand is raised. What you got?
I wrote this down. It sort of encapsulates what we've all talked about. Life, love and life are an uneasiness that I rarely think about but always go through.
Now I'm going to make you repeat that because I never get it the first round.
Love and life are
Love and life
are an uneasiness that I rarely think about but always goes through.
Love and life are an uneasiness.
I rarely think about
love and life, but I'm always going through. All right.
Right.
I can turn that into a meme.
Good.
Hold on.
Brian, I want to read something that was put in the chat.
Yeah, I saw that one. Was it from
Yeah.
Dennis?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd love to put. Can you read that for us? Hold on, I'm going to try to get it on the screen, but I forgot how. Did that show up on the screen? No.
No.
Dennis, thanks for sharing it, but I can't get it up on the screen. All right, go ahead. Read it. Would
Okay.
Maria? Hold on one second. Dennis, would you like to read your own words? No. I mean, you would if you wanted to.
No, I can't. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, great, great. Well, I said that loving others is self-recognition because essentially the border between us and others is one that's in our own minds conceptually, in the shape of consciousness. We have a very similar form of consciousness, so that separateness is a cognitive illusion. That the biological and physiological boundaries between you and them doesn't actually exist. When you think about it, we're all the same star stuff. We're all the same. We are the universe looking at itself through different, pinholes in the fabric of the world. And so that's really, what I'm really getting at with that. And
I love
I think
that.
that once we understand the connectedness of life, and that we all emanate from the same source, just like when you look into the eyes of your children, you see a little bit of yourself. When you look into the eyes of your brother and your brother's brother and your brother's brother, you understand that we are actually just different parts of a single whole. So that's why loving others is the recognition of yourself.
Wow. Thanks for jumping in. I see hands waving.
pleasure.
And see
It's a
thumbs
joy.
up. Yeah.
Can I say something about that? I love that. That's reminded me of the conversation we had at the start about grief, because I think when we grieve the death of another, we're actually grieving our own mortality too.
Correct.
And
That was
that's
what
connected,
Dino
Dennis,
tried
with
to
what
tell
you
me.
just said.
Yeah. Thank you, Hugh. That was what Dino was trying to tell me when I was crying about his impending death. That I wasn't crying about him, I was crying for me. Thank you, Hugh. Let's do, speaking on death, those of you who have been here more than a year and a half will remember my dear friend Linny, who would come to services. She died a year ago today. I want to just make a little special shout out to her. She was important in my life and Jane's life, and she was a grandmother to my children, and I miss her. Maria, help us along, would you?
Yeah. These are the people to whom we are sending light and love. Ken and Cheryl, Reed and Gwen, John and Ann M., Shirley and Paris and Esther, Rita S., Carol O., Amy G., Rebecca F., Linda W., and April W., and the Bell family. If there is another person in our community to whom we can offer light and love, please put their name in the chat and I will add them to the list on Facebook. And for the people who aren't named, but who are in our thoughts, we send them light and love as well.
Thank you, Maria. We'll take a minute. As we're coming up to the end of an hour, I want to remind you, you can stick around for the next hour if you've never been here before. There's breakout rooms. Somebody had asked very early on when we started doing these services, what can we do that would replicate donut hour at a church where people can hang around and chat afterwards. So we have some groups that you can join. There's a rabbi's room if you have a question you want to pigeonhole me with. And then there's also Maria's Hot Dog Shack and Welcome Center if you are new here.
Not pancakes anymore, huh?
Not pancakes anymore.
No.
Change it. Last week I really threw Maria off by using its official title of Maria's Welcome Center. Yeah.
And Tool Shed.
And Love Shack. So please stick around. Let me say this. We had the song about Magic Penny, and I'm also thinking about the story of Stone Soup. And Stone Soup is that somebody brings, if you remember the story, somebody puts a giant stone in a big pot, and someone says, "What are you doing?" They say, "Well, I'm making soup." But they can kind of Tom Sawyer-esque convince everyone to bring different ingredients to help the soup. Oh, I have just the thing it needs. That's this service. That's this gathering. This gathering is I bring a pot and a stone, and then y'all bring the soup. And it is a wonderful, beautiful thing. It's only taken us 300 services to figure out our magic formulas, but we're still growing. So I appreciate y'all on this experiment with me. Let's wave goodbye to the Facebook people because we're going to cut them off in a moment. Bye, Facebook people. And we end.